Hi friends, I'm here in KubeCon Europe 2025 London, and I just met Nicolas. I'm super excited to share incredible things with you.
Hi folks, Nicolas Fränkel here, direct from London. I've been a Java developer for a long time, and since a couple of years, I'm a developer advocate. And I work for LoftLabs on vCluster.
Well, I'm super excited because vCluster is like a virtual cluster inside Kubernetes, correct?
That's correct. It's a very low-level technical brick, and that allows you multiple use cases. For example, isolation. When you start your Kubernetes journey, you need to think about your topology, and you have no experience. So the problem is you might choose a wrong topology. You have one big cluster, and now you need to isolate your workloads. And the only thing that you have is namespaces. And it's a lot of operational complexity. And what do you do when you have CRDs that you can't isolate because they are cluster-wide? You are doomed unless you have vCluster. And vClusters allows you to isolate your workloads in different virtual clusters in a single host cluster.
Wow, this really simplifies my day-to-day activity. What are the main adoption that you see by industry or by use case?
The thing is, as I mentioned, it's a very low-level technical brick, so you can have a lot of different use cases. I mentioned one, flexibility, but there are others. For example, you can have multi-tenancy, easily multi-tenancy, because then you have one single huge production cluster, and you have multiple virtual cluster, each of them dedicated to a customer. Customer comes in, you just spin on a new virtual cluster. One goes out, you just switch it off. Or you can have temporary virtual cluster. For example, you have a CI/CD pipeline for testing. You want to target a Kubernetes cluster, and there are two solutions. Either it's on all of the time, and you need to pay the costs. And if there are multiple CI/CD pipelines working on the same cluster, then again, isolation might bite you. Or you need to spin it on during the CI/CD pipeline, and then you need to wait for a long time. For example, recently I work on GKE for a minimal cluster. It takes between 5 and 7 minutes. So that's too long. The engineer might switch to a different task, then gets the email that the CI/CD broke, and that's context switching again. Instead of that, you keep one huge cluster, only the control plane, which is not that expensive. It's about $80 per month. And then you spin on one virtual cluster. It spins on in less than a minute, and you got the result right away. No context switching. So many different use cases once you have it.
Absolutely, and I know that there is an open source version.
That's true. Like what I've described so far is fully open source. Of course, you have a pro version. For example, by default, the open source version allows you to synchronize services between the host cluster and the virtual cluster. It allows you also that you can define the egress in the virtual cluster, and then we get picked up by the ingress controller in the host cluster. The Pro version allows you also to sync CRDs, which is super useful. The Pro version allows you to have a dashboard that in a single pane of glass allows you to see all your virtual cluster. So, of course, you can start with the open source version. It will solve a lot of your problem, but as soon as you want to be serious about it, I encourage you to have the Pro version.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Nicolas, for this overview. I'm sure that some people have a lot of questions for you. What are the best contacts for you and the company?
Nicolas.Fränkel at love.ch, or even better, join our Slack.
I can't wait to hear more about your wonderful stuff. Let's innovate more. Let's rock it out. Bye.